Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Nevada Women's Film Festival's program number 2, our live Q&A. My name is Samantha Rodriguez, and I'm running the behind the scenes. I also have my partner who is behind the scenes, Jemsen Bollozos. Both of us are co-founders of Eccentric Artists working at this year's festival as the executive committee. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Brett Levner, who will be our moderator today. Brett Levner is a member of the Nevada Women's Film Festival's Board of Directors, as well as an assistant professor of film at UNLV. So go ahead and take it away, Brett.
Okay, I'll try to do my best here. But welcome, everybody. We have a great group of artists here today to talk about their films that were in program 2. And I'll just do a quick introduction. We have Sarah Stolar from Bella. She's the director. From Green, we have Herong Cube, the director. From Involutati, I hope I did it right, A Journey of the Soul Through Matter, we have Arturo, Sastre, and Claire Becker, directors. And from Oh the Guild, we have Shahab Zargari, director. We have Heela, Naqshband, executive producer and actor. We have Roudi, Boroumand, screenwriter, Gilda Graham, actor, and Aaron Mattern, first AD. Welcome, everybody, and thank you for being here today and for sharing your work with us. I guess first we can start with Bella, since that's the first film in the program. Sarah, this is such a beautifully visual film. It's so interesting first because there is no dialogue. It's so visual because of that, the lack of dialogue, but you don't need dialogue. I felt like you just are captivated by the visuals, by the acting, and also by the atmosphere. So I was going to ask you first off, where did you shoot this film?
The film was shot primarily in New Mexico, in Colorado, and also in Indiana.
Wow, I mean it's stunning. Where did the concept originate of this girl, this dancer, and trying to go through this psychological journey that she's going through? Where did that idea come from?
Well, it's interesting that I'm partnered here with Claire, because I'm also a visual artist first. I'm a painter, and throughout my entire beginning with my undergraduate investigation, I started working with some imagery that focused on a young character. So it's almost, I kind of manifested her before she was born, because we're talking about in the late 90s. Bella, when we shot the film, was only 15 years old. So it really stems from a visual investigation that started in my sketchbook and evolved through sculpture, using signifiers as metaphors, things like keys to represent power or access. And also as a dancer, I've been a dancer my whole life. So this idea of screen dance, and to kind of tell the story of a young girl who was moving through a coming of age of sorts. So I really encourage people to kind of go look at the whole project, which is on my website, which includes drawings and installation and sculpture. So really, we address the film quite in the way, my collaborator and I address the film quite in the same way that we make art, in the sense that we kind of have these loose ideas. They're not really firm in terms of storyboarding or anything like that. And we kind of follow a path of visual.
Your music plays such a big role in this piece because there is no dialogue, because there's so much dance incorporated too, and it's such a powerful part of your film. What was your relationship like with whoever your composer, music supervisor was, and how did that evolve?
Well, first I should probably say we're just a crew of 3. 2 artists, visual artists and filmmakers and video artists, and a director of photography. So all of the sound was kind of developed by us and working with some friends. But we really wanted to capture this ethereal quality and to use sound in the same way that we use it in video installation or in short video works, to highlight the imagery and to really kind of put a point on different scenes in the film. So We were influenced a lot by some films, Meshes in the Afternoon and the film Elizabeth. And so it was really kind of bringing in some abstract sounds and some really, in all honesty, some kind of unapologetic beauty in terms of sound.
I cannot believe you're a 3-person crew. I mean, I don't even know how that's possible, but like the intricacy of some of your shots and so forth. I mean, was it all natural lighting? When I come to think of it, it was predominantly outside. Did you use natural light or?
Yes, we did. We followed that kind of classic filmmaker's rule of getting up at the crack of dawn and cat magic light, and same thing in the afternoon. And we're really lucky, especially in New Mexico, we just have beautiful, beautiful light. But we had John Spencer, who is our director of photography, is also a brilliant color editor. So he was really able to dial it all in and really give it that cohesiveness pulled through the whole film. But I want to say something else about color too. We used color shift to affect your mood as the viewer. So when things got dark, in terms of conceptually dark, the film would kind of get maybe a little grittier or a little more muted. And then when things were feeling a little more uplifting in the film, the colors would be brighter or sun bleached even. A lot of the color grading was based on some of the color palettes that I use in my paintings.
Amazing. Well, it's gorgeous.
Thank
So
you.
hang on a second. We're going to come back to you in a minute. Let's jump ahead and we'll go down to Involutati, A Journey of the Soul Through Matter. So for Arturo and Claire, again, I mean, exquisite. Such a beautiful film. I love the kind of like the connecting soul through sculpture, that journey you take us on. The sculpture itself is so exquisite, but the way it's connected to the film or interwoven or becomes part of the film is so interesting. How did this idea emerge?
Well, as I was telling you, it's like a whole story to come to that point, because at the beginning, the idea was to make like a short presentation film. And the first director who was supposed to do that stepped out of the project. And so we took this in our hand, Arturo Sastre Ortega and myself. And since we are all very creative artists, we decided to do something more crazy. And we did this film actually with a pretty zero budget. So it was really involving everybody's goodwill and believing in the project and believing we can really do something wonderful. So it's amazing that we were able to do something like that with Arturo's production, got us a big studio, got us a great camera, great light. So that was like we were forced to do something really great with all of that. So we designed the script based on all the sculptures that I wanted to show. And I wanted to share the creative process from inside, because this series is very special. I write also. And as I was working on these sculptures, they were sort of talking back to me through poetry. And as I was editing the film with a great editor, which is called Aaron Duran Leon, he heard the poetry and he told me, you know what, let's just get rid of all the explanation and let's just go with the poetry. It's enough to fill in the story, and we get into it in more sensitive way. So it really became like a work of art in itself, complete with the music, which was also created specially by a young, really talented musician who loved the sculpture and loved the project. And we worked together in getting to that sensitive part of the soul, very, very ethereal, with a voice of a young singer, wonderful voice, who just improvised through the music, and that was really wonderful. So it's like a really, I cannot say who's responsible for that to happen. It's just like everybody is working on it. and the support we had of all the people who believed in that project. A lot of time to also control and change mistakes into something more creative. Because for me, it was my first experience as a co-director, co-writer, and co-editor of a movie. I was supposed to just be showing my sculptures, and it turned out to be something where I got much more involved.
Creatively, how would you compare when you approach a sculpture versus this filmmaking process? Were there similarities or differences as an artist? And I'm just going to jump and say it's probably more collaborative, I assume. But what were the differences that you saw, and what did you like, and which one did you not like as much?
Well, I loved the whole experience. It was really wonderful, all good and bad. I learned so much about the process and the way films are being made. And of course, the collaborative aspect of filmmaking is so different, because sculpture, especially that series, is a very intimate creation. It's only me and the sculptures, and many times it's at night when it's all quiet and nobody is living, but just the matter and the hands, letting things happening through my hands and through my experience. And here in the movie, you have to have everybody doing their part, and also trust their part and trust their knowledge and their talent. And that's really exciting. It's been a really great experience for me on that level too.
Arturo, can you talk a little bit about what it was like to work with Claire, and how how to bring her work, do it justice in film? Like, how did that process happen?
Well, my work was more than a producer, and I tried to put together everything I can to transform her work in a film work. But finally, she must take all the work in her hands, because in the depth of this work is pluralization. No sé si se puede entender esto, pero it's an extension of her work. So she must direct everything. She must take the control of all, because finally this film is part of the sculptural work.
Mm-hmm.
And in certain moment I have to left the power on her. She must take it on her hands, because it's part of her work. And that's the way we finished this work, and I'm very happy. And I'm very happy to be here in this film fest.
Wonderful.
Because thank you.
Oh, wonderful to have you. So let's jump to The Guilt, directed by Shahab Zargari, written by Roudi Boroumand. First, I guess I'll start first with, this is for Roudi. I'll start with, since you're the screenwriter, or maybe I'll give it to both of you guys. How did you guys start collaborating? Where did the concept come from? Who had this idea first, or how did it come together? And what was that process like?
Go for it, Roudi.
Go, Shahab. It started with you. I'll join.
Sure. First of all, thank you for having us. It was definitely a labor of love, and it's nice to see that we can get into festivals and have people screen it. I do feel it was serendipitous that we were in this program, because the film is also a coming of age story. It is a little unconventional, and it was our COVID project. We were following CDC guidelines, and to a certain extent, everyone who worked on it, we had to work on something because we were on lockdown and weren't able to work on creative projects. But I approached Roudi well before COVID happened. And, it had been a while since I directed my last, I do a lot of video work and editing and things of that nature, but my own art, there's, it takes time, and, you kind of curate these things, and I didn't have anything lined up. So I was starting to talk with Roudi, and Roudi, what was your initial impressions at that point?
Well, you told me the story and the idea, and I found it very interesting, and I could relate to it because it was a coming of age, and I'm still in touch with, my old self, which was a teenage girl. And as parents, we looked at it, we try to look at it as, kids who have seen the 90s and have the, the nostalgia in the back of their minds. And then it was a real process because it started with you guys as a family having the UK trip completely mapped out, planned, and we wrote the script eventually about these characters that you see, not in Nevada, but somewhere else. But I think Shahab beautifully welcomed the pandemic and brought it back to Las Vegas, and it became a very beautiful, palpable local project.
Yeah, COVID definitely changed the DNA of what it started out as and what it became. And one of the main things, once the story started to take shape, one of the things that I told Roudi was, we definitely want you on the project as a screenwriter, because, even though the idea was surrounded around, Heela and I's eldest daughter, and, she was the impetus for this project, my writing partner Jackson and I had come up with the, basic storyline, but I told Roudi, neither Jackson nor I were ever teenage female, growing up in the 90s. Like, that is an experience we do not have. And she definitely brought that to it. There are a lot of things that on the surface just looks like the film, but, it was Roudi's input, but it was also, now, getting to the filmmaking and being on location, having an all-female cast with, Heela and Gilda, who's with us, it was a breath of fresh air. Historically, it's usually a bunch of guys standing around doing things, right? And so it was nice.
Yeah, I can tell that this film, the story, it's very important, the performances, and I feel like you got such strong naturalistic performances, and that really makes the film shine. I know you casted your own daughter in one of the roles, right? And you had a lot of different casting choices. To the two actors, Heela and Gilda, what was it like working with Shahab?
I work with him every day. We've been married almost 20 years now.
20 years in August.
So we worked on tons of different projects over the years, from very small to massive now with film. But having our daughter in the film was really cool to see how she's just grown and evolved over the years, and how she can kind of hold her own, even though her dad was filming, but she can still hold her own. It was really impressive to see that.
And Gilda, what was your experience like working with Shahab?
I was actually really, really impressed with him as a director, and he's also a friend of mine. We've known each other for a couple of years now, but I was really impressed because of the amount of information that, it wasn't just about, he cared about rehearsals, which, I mean, not many directors now ask for rehearsal after rehearsal after rehearsal. So that was really refreshing to have a director just be into that. But he also shared the whole project with the actors. Okay, we're, going to be shooting on this day. We're going to, even if you're not part of it, he made you feel like you were part of a whole movie. And it was like, even though I didn't do the editing or anything like that, I still felt like I was a part of it because of how much he shared with us, and he was so open with everything. And it was just finally nice to be able to to have a director that did that. So yeah, it was amazing working with him.
I bet that the fact that you made it during COVID really brought you guys together as a crew, as a cast. Aaron, what was it like ADing a film that was being shot during COVID? What challenges did you face?
We had a lot less crew than we had on our previous film. Like the previous film we worked on, you know, we had focus operators, 5 people doing lighting, even though it was like a low budget film. So to keep our crew down and keep the size of the entire crew down, we didn't have a lot of those delegated duties. So our photographer director was doing the lighting, doing focus. I think as a result, the setup times took a little bit longer than I would have expected it to. It kind of delayed our shooting schedule. We had to push some things to another day that we weren't expecting, those kind of difficulties.
And this was a period piece too, so I imagine there were certain, I gotta say, I was really impressed with the attention to detail with all the period pieces and the music and Kurt Cobain. And I really did connect it to the story because I came up during that generation as well. And I thought you did a wonderful job relaying that. And I thought your daughter was also a very talented young actress. And it really is important that she sell it because it's, you know, it's her story. And I think she did. I believe she did.
And, you know, to a certain extent, you know, she was 16 when we shot it. And so I knew that that would bring a certain level of authenticity, but also, you know, when the economy crashed in 2008, we were stuck at home. I had a camera and we actually did this whole like kid cooking show, although we never cooked anything. It was, you know, hummus wraps and things of that nature. And so I had been directing her since kindergarten. So I knew I could pull the performance that we needed out of her, but also, like Heela said, like she held her own. She's, you know, in high school doing theater and musical theater, although that's a whole different type of acting. She could still bring that experience to it, even though she doesn't really have that much experience, but she really did such a great job. And going back to COVID, we never would have landed Sean Astin if COVID had not happened. That would not have happened.
Yeah. Wait a second. Did you guys get him? Are you joking or what? I thought that was like a real commercial. You mean you shot that commercial? Oh, tell the story behind that. That's interesting.
Let's just say that April of 2020, everyone in Hollywood was laid off and everyone had bills. But really, Sean was, you know, he was so gracious and he's such a kind person, and it was really great. I mean, I don't have his phone number, like we don't really talk, you know, on the weekends or anything, but essentially, you know, we made the offer, and he initially declined it. Yeah, he said, no, I don't want to do this because I don't want to endorse drugs, even if it's something made up. And we totally made up the name, and you know, it's not a real drug or anything like that. And so I basically resubmitted the proposal and said, your line in this film is, it worked for me, so go ask your doctor. So I said, essentially, you're asking them to believe your testimonial enough to go get a second opinion. You're not telling them to take it. And his response to that was a question. And usually when someone answers with a question, that means they're interested, right? And his question was, do you want it straight or do you want it comedic? Mm-hmm. And I basically said, listen, if doing it comedically, and if you notice when you rewatch that commercial, he does a little wink at the end. I said, look, if you do it comedically, and that makes it one step further away from endorsing this thing, do it, you know. But internally, I was thinking, I don't care how you do this. You are Mr.
Totally.
Goonies himself. Like, do whatever you're gonna
Roudi.
do.
Rudy. I meant Rudy the movie, not Rudy the screenwriter. But that's ironic.
Rudy,
That's
That's another.
oh,
yeah,
that's so. I
it's
love that story. That's awesome. All right, that was a good little gem there. I didn't know. Thank you. Herong, you're still silenced?
Are we like
Sure, we
able to
got
hear
you.
now?
That was a chat. Well, in the final hour, I'm so happy that you got to we got this figured out. So you're coming from the film Green, and tell us how this idea came about.
Well, yeah. I heard you guys talking about your project. Like, all you guys sound so professional, but like me and Glory, we just students doing our graduation film. So we have changed the story for like 3 times, but we have to stop doing it because there is a deadline for it. Plus, this is during the pandemic time. Like, everyone is not the studio is not on site, and so the story went like quite different as what we thought in the first place. So originally the 2 main characters should be like they are like girlfriends, but then as we changing the story because it went too long, so we have to shorten like the plot, and then it went like really close friends. But what I guess is still it like the story, even though it's shortened up, it's still good enough. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to finish it.
I can only imagine. I mean, I saw in the credits the list of now, did you animate as well as direct, or did you had a list of animators? How did that work?
Okay, so Gloria is more into the art side. So she's doing all the layout, color key, and animation. And me is more into like some of the animation, but more of editing and color correcting and get all the people working together. So a funny fact is that as you see in the credit roll, like many people, they are like friends that we met on internet. We never like meet each other in person.
Wow.
So yeah, they come from like some of them are from Canada, from China, from Japan. So like working with them in different time zones is an amazing journey for us.
That's so amazing. I think that's so interesting. And you're based in Canada, right? Or no?
Yeah.
Okay. And my question, I guess, what were your inspirations? Kind of what other films or art that inspired you to make this film?
I would say there's a Disney short. It's called Paperman. I'm not sure if you guys seen it, but it's about a man like meeting a lady in the train station, and it's through a magical paper plane. So we love how they design a character, like the art style, and in our character design phrases, we took a lot of references from that. Yeah. Nice.
I remember, I love that film. And it's a very poignant and beautiful piece, especially, not to give it away, but you've probably seen it, when her partner or the friend passes away, and then that last image of, all the green, creating the green grass to lie on. And it really brought a tear to my eye, and it's very beautifully done. We have a question from the audience. This is for everybody. What aha moments from your experience making this film will you bring forward into your work on projects in the future? Does anybody want to answer that? So what aha moments from your experience making this film will you bring forward into your work on projects in the future? Sarah, did you have any thoughts on that? We haven't heard from you in a while.
Well, it's interesting because when you set out to make a film without truly kind of intending to make a film. You know, something just kind of started with this idea of making a really short art video, really, and it just evolved and grew into this beautiful thing. I think probably my biggest takeaway would be to really just follow the path and trust your vision and just keep shooting. I mean, non-traditionally in terms of film, you know, we really don't have, you know, didn't have a true kind of formal outline. It happened during the creation of the film. And I realized that isn't the way most films are made. It's kind of very regimented. I'm assuming, please correct me if I'm wrong, for those who are, you know, great filmmakers here. We really did approach it more like an art project. And so I think just trusting that it's all going to come together into a final vision that is going to be strong. And if you're authentic in your voice, that it's going to come together in the way that you want it to.
Good advice. Claire, what would you say? What did you learn from your experience?
That I love to direct, that was a really great experience, and also to feel very comfortable working with many people around. And in that first experience, I was not prepared to do this role, and I learned really quick that, okay, now I have to be a director, okay, I have to be a screenwriter, okay, now I have to be an editor. And I really enjoyed so much all the process that I said, I would like to make a project where I know I can do these things, and so I can be more prepared to really do all of that. And we already are planning to do something else crazy, beautiful.
Good. Oh, I'm so excited. Herong, what would you say that you learned from your experience?
I would say I'm really thankful for all the people that's helped me to finish this film. Like we never know each other in person, like just through the internet, and it's a lot of trust being putting on us. And I thought this is something that we need to carry on and just keep doing animation or keep doing film in general, because this is what connected us together. Yeah.
Beautiful. And Shahab and Heela, what would you say you learned through this experience that you would like to continue forward with?
So the one thing that I would say that I did not like was working under COVID conditions. A skeleton crew, it was real a pain, and single serve food. We couldn't do pizza. We couldn't do a veggie tray. Like everyone had to have their own thing, and that sucked. As far as an aha moment for me, you know, and Heela knows this. You know, when we read books, I'm reading sci-fi. She's reading, you know, nonfiction, things of that nature. She loves drama. I love sci-fi. And so I was always like, oh, I'm a sci-fi director. I'm a sci-fi director. And I think the aha moment here is that I can do drama. And so, you know, will my next thing be something else that I never thought that I could do?
And I would say just learning to be extra flexible and remembering that not everything is going to go according to plan, and that's okay, and just kind of rolling with that, and sometimes you'll get even better results when that happens.
And actually, I feel, and you know, if anyone feels different, let's hear it. But I think filmmaking in general, things always go wrong and things always change, and you always have to be flexible. But the important thing is getting to that finish line. And even though that finished product doesn't look like what you had in mind, you should be proud of whatever that finished product is.
Oh, I love that. That's a great note to end on. I just want to thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing your beautiful work and art with us. And we wish you the best, and come to Vegas next year. We'll be in person, so come on, visit us in person, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.